All right, so we talked about what an HTML file is and the major parts that it has, and I've been using this word element, right? So I said, okay, there's a head element and there's a body element, right? And so now I want to get into a little bit more about what HTML elements are, how we use them, and how we write them, okay? So when we're writing HTML, what we're doing is we're telling the browser, here is some content and here's what that content is. So let's say that I want to put my name on my website, right? I need to tell the browser, like, what is this content? Is it a heading? Is it a paragraph? Is it an image, right? The browser doesn't know until we tell it. So we write, we use HTML tags to tell the browser what this is. So I'm going to say this is an H1, okay? And when I write H1, open bracket, H1, close bracket, this is called an opening tag, and it says, hey, I'm starting to write an H1 or a first level heading, the most important heading on the page, okay? So open bracket, the name of the element, H1, close bracket. This is a closing tag. It's exactly the same, except for it has a / in it. And then whatever comes between these opening and closing tags is the content of that element, okay? So one more time, just so we're clear on terminology, this is an opening tag, this is a closing tag, and all of this together, including the content, is an element, okay? So I'd say this is an H1 element. It's a level 1 heading element. If we look at our page, the browser knows that H1 elements are a little bigger, but right now we're really just thinking about what kind of content is this, okay? You'll see this written in a few different ways. Sometimes you'll see HTML written like this, okay? Sometimes you'll see it written like this. It does not matter either way, okay? The spaces don't make any difference. It's just whatever is easiest for you to look at it and understand where things are. So do it however is easiest for you. I like to do it like this, and if you're in Glitch, it'll kind of help you write it like this. Okay, so this means we can start to understand a little bit more about our page so far, right? So here is a body element, right? And I have an opening body tag and a closing body tag. This part right here is called an attribute, okay? Attributes go inside an opening tag, and the way they work is you have the name of the attribute. So this is lang, or telling it what language the body is written in. So we have the attribute name, an equal sign, and then inside quotation marks, we have the value of the attribute. So this is a lang attribute, and it has the value EN-US or English, US English, okay? We'll talk more about attributes as they become relevant, but you just need to know what they are for right now. If I want to insert an image, okay, images don't really have content in the same way that text elements have content, right? So Daniel Carter, my name, I can just write that here, but it's not like I can type an image here. So we do this. And what this says is this tag isn't going to have a closing tag, okay? I'm not going to have a close image. It's just this thing that sits by itself because I'm not going to type content for it. Instead, I'm going to have this src attribute, and that's going to tell it where to go find the image file. And we'll deal with image files in a different lesson. You just needed to understand what these tags are because you'll see them everywhere, right? So here's a tag that doesn't have a closing tag. Okay, we call this a self-closing element, and we type this / to remind ourselves that we're not going to have a closing tag, so it's okay. And we'll talk more about these later. You don't need to worry too much about them right now. So that's a self-closing tag. The other thing you need to understand is that elements can nest inside each other, okay? They're like the Russian dolls that stack. And so here you can see that inside my body, I have an H1 element. This H1 element has to end before the body ends, right? I can't have my H1 start and then my body end and then my H1 end. And you'll see that Glitch or your text editor is going to start telling you stuff's wrong, okay? So I'm going to put this back here, but I can also see that this is indented. So if I need to say, okay, what's inside my body, I can see that these things are indented. I can also collapse these things, these elements, to make it a little bit easier for me to work with my code when I get really long files. This is really important. Say we have an unordered list, okay? UL is unordered list, so I have an opening tag and a closing tag. And inside an unordered list, the only thing that I can have are LIs. So let's say this is a grocery list and I'm going to buy apples and oranges. So inside this UL tag, between my opening and closing tags, I can have other tags, okay? So my LI tags have to close before I close my UL. I'm going to indent them, right? So you'll be tempted to have stuff like this, but this is really hard for me to read. I can't tell what's going on. Glitch makes this really easy. You can format your file and it's going to indent things for you and keep everything nice, but you'll also want to. The last thing to know is that you can have as much white space as you want to in your HTML file. So if it helps you to have everything really spread apart like this, go for it. Makes things easier to read. That's all we're doing.